Hello everyone, welcome back to Firepower Report. Today we are diving deep into one of the most dramatic and symbolic moments of modern warfare, the Ukraine drone strike on Moscow's iconic skyscrapers, those billion-dollar towers now etched into history by fire, smoke, and destruction. What unfolded that night wasn't just another act of conflict. It was a message written across the skyline of one of the world's most powerful capitals. The attack shocked millions, sending waves of disbelief, fear, and intrigue throughout the global community. It was more than an explosion. It was a demonstration of precision, intent, and the vulnerability of even the most fortified cities on Earth. The Moscow skyline, long seen as a symbol of modern wealth and architectural pride, became a battlefield that glowed red against the black sky, and the images of burning towers have since spread across every media outlet imaginable. The exterior of the towers told a story that words barely capture. Before the attack, these skyscrapers were monuments of ambition, their glass exteriors reflecting the brilliance of the Russian capital, their polished facades serving as a mirror for progress and power. But on that night, those same reflective surfaces became canvases for destruction. Drones, sleek and silent, approached under the cover of darkness, gliding through the night sky with precision. The first strike shattered the calm. Windows blew out in a cascading wave of sparks and glass, and fire erupted through the upper floors as if the towers themselves were exhaling flame. The skyline that had stood for prosperity was instantly transformed into a scene of chaos. Flames licked the sides of the buildings, reflections of orange and crimson danced across the surrounding glass, and smoke poured upward in dark spirals that blotted out the stars. The towers, once radiant beacons of wealth, were now burning monoliths, visible from miles away. Fire trucks and emergency vehicles raced to the scene, their sirens piercing through the roar of the blaze, but even their arrival could not mask the scale of devastation. The architecture, celebrated for its sleek design and futuristic lines, now revealed its fragility, glass and steel warped under heat, beams exposed and buckling, and sections of the facade collapsing under their own weight. The city's proud towers, symbols of stability, became fragile sculptures melting in the night. Inside, the picture was even more haunting. The interiors of these billion-dollar towers were masterpieces of luxury and corporate sophistication, marble floors, panoramic offices, designer furniture, and cutting-edge technology. But the moment the drone struck, that refinement vanished in an instant. Flames rushed through hallways, devouring carpets and shattering glass walls. Ceiling panels dropped one by one, and smoke filled every crevice of the structure. The sprinklers, designed for small fires or accidental sparks, sputtered weakly against the inferno that had been unleashed. Elevators froze mid-motion, trapping people between floors while power systems overloaded and plunged entire sections into darkness. Expensive art and polished conference tables turned to ash in seconds. In a single breath of flame, years of design, luxury, and wealth disintegrated. Workers who had once admired the skyline from those panoramic windows now ran through corridors filled with smoke and debris, fighting to find exits as the building groaned and cracked around them. The beauty of the interior, once a source of pride, now stood as a chilling testament to how quickly human achievement can fall apart when confronted with the chaos of war. The performance of the drones themselves has stunned experts worldwide. This was not a random assault, it was a precision operation. Military analysts believe the drones were launched with meticulous coordination, perhaps from different directions to overwhelm radar and defense systems. They moved fast, low, and silent, slipping through detection zones that were once thought secure. Their guidance systems locked onto specific coordinates, and each drone seemed to know exactly where to strike. Structural weak points, mechanical floors, communication centers, and power hubs. The attack was timed so perfectly that multiple points ignited almost simultaneously, maximizing damage and confusion. The performance of these drones is a stark reminder of how warfare has evolved. What once required massive bombers or missile systems can now be executed by a handful of small, unmanned aircraft guided by GPS and remote intelligence. Each drone carried a payload just powerful enough to breach, ignite, and destabilize, proving that in modern conflict, precision often outweighs raw firepower. The effectiveness of this operation demonstrated that even nations with advanced air defense systems are not invulnerable. The technology that made these drones possible, lightweight frames, high-speed rotors, thermal guidance, and autonomous navigation, represents the new face of warfare, one where the sky itself can become a silent, invisible threat. Safety features inside the towers were designed with conventional disasters in mind, accidental fires, power failures, or earthquakes, but this was no ordinary event. The moment the strikes occurred, those systems were pushed far beyond their limits. Sprinkler systems engaged but were quickly overwhelmed as the fire spread from floor to floor faster than water could contain it. Emergency power kicked in, but cables melted under the intense heat, cutting off lights and communication systems. Stairwells became smoke-filled traps, and pressurized ventilation systems failed to keep toxic fumes out. Even fireproof doors couldn't withstand the temperature as metal frames bent and seals melted away. The towers had been built with the assumption of safety, but not with the expectation of deliberate assault. Architects had designed for stability, not warfare. The attack revealed a chilling truth. Modern skyscrapers, no matter how expensive or advanced, remain vulnerable when fire, impact, and collapse occur simultaneously. For the first responders, the challenge was immense. They had to navigate a maze of collapsed sections, glass shards, and falling debris while battling heat that reached thousands of degrees. The smoke was so dense that visibility dropped to almost nothing, and the sound of groaning steel echoed through the city. Safety protocols that had been rehearsed for years disintegrated under the reality of destruction that no drill could simulate. The uniqueness of this event lies in what it represents. This was not just an attack on buildings, it was an attack on symbols. The towers stood as icons of Russian financial and technological achievement, representing billions in investments and decades of growth. To see them burn was to witness the fragility of power itself. The drones, each costing a fraction of the price of the towers they destroyed, exposed the imbalance between cost and impact in modern warfare. With minimal expense, Ukraine demonstrated the ability to strike deep within an adversary's capital, bypassing traditional defenses and delivering psychological shock on a global scale. The symbolism was unmistakable. Technology, once the tool of defense, had turned into the weapon of offense. This strike blurred the line between the battlefield and the metropolis, showing that in the era of drones, no city is completely safe. The uniqueness also lies in the precision, the way technology, intelligence, and strategy merged into a single, coordinated gesture. The strike was as much a statement as it was an operation, an assertion that even the richest structures built by human hands can be brought down by the smallest machines. The impact wasn't just physical but psychological, altering how nations think about urban safety, infrastructure defense, and the true cost of modern conflict. The price of this attack extends far beyond the numbers printed in insurance ledgers or repair estimates. On a financial level, the loss runs into billions. The towers themselves were home to corporations, banks, and foreign investors, each of whom now faces immense losses. The physical damage includes not only the destruction of the structures, but also the ripple effects across business, real estate, and global confidence. Investors watching the footage saw not just buildings burning, but trust burning, the idea that capital cities are safe havens shattered in a single night. On a human level, the cost is immeasurable. Lives were lost, families torn apart, workers injured or missing, and countless people left traumatized by the experience. The fire has psychological aftershocks that will linger far longer than the flames themselves. Citizens who once looked to the skyline with pride now see it with fear. For Moscow, this event is not only a tragedy but a test of resilience, governance, and reconstruction. Politically, the price is steep. The attack embarrassed Russian leadership, exposing the limits of its defense capabilities and triggering debates over how such an assault could penetrate so deeply into protected airspace. It may drive further militarization of cities, tighter air defense systems, and possibly retaliation, raising the stakes of global tension. In every sense, the price of those burning towers is a warning, a reminder that modern cities are not immune from the consequences of conflict, and that the financial centers of power can become frontlines overnight. As the flames subsided and daylight revealed the extent of the damage, what remained of the towers resembled skeletons of metal and ash. The once glittering surfaces were blackened, the air thick with the smell of smoke and melted steel. Cleanup crews began to arrive, picking through twisted beams and shattered glass. The visual of those smoldering giants became a defining image of the conflict, a sign that technology has changed the face of warfare forever. Experts from around the world began dissecting the strike, how it happened, why defenses failed, and what this means for the future. Security analysts pointed out that anti-drone systems were not designed to handle simultaneous multi-angle attacks from small, agile targets. Economists discussed the impact on investor confidence in international markets. Psychologists talked about urban trauma, how cities respond emotionally to seeing their landmarks destroyed. Across all fields, one realization echoed: the game has changed. Drones, inexpensive and deadly, are reshaping not only military tactics but global psychology. Where once power was measured in tanks and missiles, it is now measured in algorithms, precision, and control of the sky. The scene outside the towers in the aftermath was surreal. Firefighters sprayed water on still, smoking embers, their faces illuminated by the glow of heat even hours later. Civilians gathered behind barricades, phones in hand, capturing every moment. The sound of crackling glass mixed with distant sirens. Reporters broadcast live, their voices trembling as they described what had once been the pride of the Moscow skyline, now reduced to ruin. The contrast between wealth and destruction was almost poetic. Billion-dollar architecture turned into rubble by drones, costing perhaps a few thousand each. That irony resonated deeply with people around the world. The story was not just about loss, it was about a shift in power dynamics, how small nations, with innovation and determination, can challenge far larger adversaries. The towers, in their fiery downfall, became symbols of this new era, fragile, impressive, and vulnerable all at once. From a broader perspective, the strike forces us to question what safety means in the 21st century. Buildings are now designed not only to withstand natural disasters but also deliberate attacks. Yet, as technology evolves, so too does the nature of threat. Fireproof glass, reinforced steel, smart evacuation systems, all of them failed in the face of strategic precision. It is no longer enough to build higher, cities must also build smarter. Defense isn't just military anymore, it's architectural, digital, psychological. Urban planning, once about beauty and function, must now include survival. Governments will need to rethink how cities are protected, not only with weapons but with awareness, redundancy, and adaptability. If the towers had represented the peak of human design, their destruction represents a call to rethink design itself. The world watched as Moscow's skyline glowed red that night, not from celebration or fireworks, but from fire and fury. It was an image that captured the reality of modern conflict: fast, remote, intelligent, and deeply symbolic. For Ukraine, it was both a military and psychological victory, a demonstration that reach and innovation can rival might and numbers. For Russia, it was a reminder that control of the sky does not guarantee control of destiny. And for the rest of the world, it was a moment of awakening that the tools of destruction have become smaller, smarter, and far more unpredictable. As time passes, reconstruction will begin and the towers may rise again, stronger and more secure. But the memory of their fall will linger. People will remember that night when technology and symbolism collided, when drones turned architecture into ash, when the balance of power flickered in the firelight. The future of warfare, of architecture, and of city defense changed in that instant. The line between civilian and military targets blurred, and the city itself became a participant in the theater of war. In the end, this event will be studied for years to come as a case study in defense, as a turning point in military evolution, and as a tragedy that reshaped the understanding of security in urban life. It teaches that strength without adaptability is weakness, that technology can empower and destroy in equal measure, and that in the modern world, vulnerability hides behind even the brightest glass. The burning towers of Moscow will stand in memory as symbols not just of loss, but of change, a grim reminder that in the age of drones and digital warfare, no skyline is beyond reach. And that concludes this in-depth analysis of the Ukraine drone strike on Moscow's billion-dollar towers. Thank you for watching Firepower Report, where we break down the most significant events shaping modern warfare and security. Remember to stay informed, stay aware, and never underestimate how quickly the world around us can change.